Hi, thanks for joining me for this week's quick business tip. Do you ever feel like your customer testimonials, the ones that you should be so proud of, kind of fall flat when you go to share them, whether it's on social media or if you're hoping somebody looks at your Google business profile? Or do you often find yourself collecting reviews that say things like, she was great to work with, but it's not a surprise that a generic review like that just doesn't capture the amazing transformation that you have helped your client experience? If so, you are not alone. And today I am going to give you a simple yet extremely powerful system to take these boring reviews and instead start sharing amazing customer stories that are so compelling they can do the selling for you. The first thing we're going to do is break down the biggest mistake that most businesses make when they go about sharing the client stories and the success stories that they have from their customers. Then I'm going to give you a very simple customer review survey with the exact questions that you need to ask that you will then assemble into a very simple storytelling type narrative that connects on a deep emotional level and drives the action of your next potential client. But first, I want to tell you a quick story. A few years ago, I worked with a client, and we're just going to call her Sarah. Now, Sarah was an incredibly talented coach. But she was really overwhelmed when it came to running her own business, and she was undercharging for the amazing services that she offered. We worked together for just 6 months, and the change that happened in Sarah was like night and day. She streamlined her business with easy to use systems. She tripled the price that she was charging for customers, and because she was now getting the respect and recognition that she deserved all along, she saw incredible growth in her business. Now, when we were done with our 6 months together, of course, I asked Sarah for a review, and she was more than happy to give me one. So the next day, what landed in my inbox was Jennifer is a great consultant. She was so helpful. I really enjoyed working with her. Wah, wah. No, she wasn't wrong. I was helpful and I absolutely enjoyed working with her. I'm so happy she enjoyed working with me too. But that review carried zero power. It captured none of Sarah's initial struggle before she started working with me, none of the breakthroughs that she experienced in our 6 months together, and none of the results that she experienced after working with me. It was a nice review. It was 5 stars. But there's no way that anyone's going to read that and think, awesome, I need to hire her. And this is the problem that I want to help you solve today. The biggest mistake that so many businesses make when they ask for reviews is that we're really passive about collecting them, and we end up getting generic testimonials instead of powerful stories of change. No, our clients aren't at fault here. They don't know how to tell their own story in a compelling way. And what we can do is help them with that. Now, it's not a surprise that the reason Sarah's review was so flat and generic is the same reason that most case studies are so boring. They make the wrong person the hero. For most businesses, when they are telling a client success story, a lot of them completely accidentally turn themselves into the star of the show. They say something like, a client came to us with a problem, and we used our amazing, one of the kind systems and processes. We saved the day, we changed the world, and in the end, everyone lived happily ever after. It sounds a little braggy, a little self-congratulatory, and it just doesn't connect on an emotional level. So the most important thing that you need to remember after we spend some time together today is your client is the one who's the rock star, and you are just there to help guide them through their transformation process. Now, we see this all the time in stories, whether it is Luke Skywalker, who is the star of the show that meets the guide, Yoda, who understands his problem, or whether it's the problems that you solve for your clients every day. When you tell your story, you need to be Yoda and your client needs to be Luke Skywalker. You don't go about bragging about how amazing you are, no matter how amazing you are. But instead, you show how you help someone else find their greatness, no matter what it is that you do. If you're in real estate and you are helping someone find the home that they fall in love with, it's the buyer who finds the home. If you're helping a seller, the seller is the one that sold their home for an amazing price. You are just there to help them in the process. Or someone like me, when you're helping someone with marketing and sales, I'm not the one that is doing the sales and closing all these deals and stepping into my greatness and raising my prices. My client is. I'm just there to help them along the way. So how do you go about getting your customer to see that they are the rock star when they write a review? First, you have to just ask them the right questions. You can't expect your client to tell a good story all on their own. So I want to give you a strategic set of questions that you can ask every time you ask a customer about their experience with you. There are 5 questions that you need to ask every customer who you know is happy with your services. The first one is you want them to think about where they were before they started working with you. You ask them what their biggest challenge was and how they felt. And this question is really important because it establishes where they are emotionally when they step into the story. This is point A. The second question you need to ask is, what had you tried in the past to solve the problem that didn't work? Now, this shows that not only was your customer feeling feelings from question 1, but they were stuck in a way that they didn't know how to get out of on their own. They had tried some other things, whether it was DIY or working with other competitors, and the failure is what's going to highlight their eventual success even more. The third question you want to ask is what their goal was when they started working with you. It's that magical question like, remember back when you were at point A, before you started working with me, if you could have just waved a magic wand back then, where would you have wanted to be when you were done working with me? This lays out the desire, where they thought point B was going to be for them. This is what they wanted to get to. Now, the fourth question is the after photo, right? So we have the before photo from question 1, and question 4 is the after photo. When you completed working with me, or at this point in time in our relationship, what results have you achieved? And how are you feeling? So this is like the big payoff. It asks for both the quantitative or the numbers, the profit increase, the, tripling your prices, whatever it was, and also the qualitative or that emotional change that happened in the after. And the last question is just asking them about their expectations. So think back to point A. What were your expectations when we first started working together? Now, this is very subtle, but it can be a very powerful question because if you've done a really good job, and I know so many of you do, you often get the customer to say things like, she didn't just meet my expectations, she completely blew them out of the water, or some really great line that works fantastic in future marketing. Now, at this point, you can do one of two things. You can simply use these 5 questions to sort of refresh the customer's thought process and get them in a really good place so that they can write the review. Because we all know that you cannot write your own customers' reviews and post them on your Google business page. The other option that you have is to pull all this information together from your customer, and then you can write your own testimonials that you're able to put on your website, in email, and in social media. So if you go with option 2, you have together the pain that your customer was experiencing before they started working with you, the struggle that they went through with the other options that they tried before they started working with you, where they wanted to be and where they ended up. And you want to put all these pieces together into a very simple storytelling type testimonial. Now, the easiest and most effective structure in most cases is to use the problem solution result format. So first, you take the answers from questions 1 and 2, and you paint a picture of your customer before they met you and start with that emotion that they were feeling. So Sarah was a brilliant coach, but she was constantly overwhelmed and undervalued. So we start with an emotion and a feeling. Then the second part of the equation is really typically short. You briefly explain what you did as this guide in the scenario, right? So we implemented our 3-step framework, gave her clarity and a path forward. Notice that I did not talk about, didn't go into depth about the program that I offer. I didn't talk about all the years of experience that I have. I made it very customer centric. The third piece of this framework is the result. So you use your answers from question 4, maybe question 5, and you share the transformation. Something like, today, Sarah is has not only tripled her prices, but she has the confidence to command a room and is seeing her revenue grow consistently. If we compare this 3-step story that we've put together to Jennifer's great to work with, which one would you choose to show to new potential customers in hopes that they read it and think, wow, I really want to work with that person? The answer is pretty clear. We know that you don't need any more generic testimonials. You need a whole binder full of powerful, repeatable transformation stories that connect with your center of the bullseye customer and prove that you can get results that others have dreamed of. And becoming a master at telling these stories is a really powerful skill that you can learn, and it's one that we go into in our personal brand impact. We help you craft your own story, tell your client stories, and craft an entire marketing plan that does the selling for you. So if you're ready to move beyond generic Google reviews and build a brand that connects and converts, I want to invite you to take a look at the link in the show notes below. We are going to open doors soon for our next live cohort, and I would love to make sure that you know about it. But first, this week, I want you to start with one amazing client that you've loved working with in the past. And either on your own, or ideally, pick up a phone, have a Zoom call, schedule a coffee, send an email, do whatever you need, and put together all 5 steps of their story with you, and then use that story that you've pulled together to create a social media post or an email blast. If you start today by practicing the art of storytelling when it comes to your clients' success stories, you will find that this is one of the most profitable things that you can do for your business. So until next time, keep leading with integrity, serving with heart, and reaching for your own limitless impact.